Hey guys, LevelCap here, and welcome to the Ultimate Arc Raiders guide that will cover everything from just getting started to intermediate progression and even some advanced tactics. There's a ton of stuff to learn in this game and plenty of things I wish I knew before I started playing, so I'm going to cram as much info into this video in as short of time as possible. Check it out. I have a feeling even some of the advanced players will learn at least a thing or two. Now, as a new player, completing quests and generating XP is going to be pretty high on your priority list. Take advantage of the free loadouts. These will give you a light shield, a level 1 common weapon, and a few other consumables. They do have the weakest inventory space and no safe pocket for extracting valuable gear, but you can actually get an insane amount of XP when you're playing with a kit that you don't really care much about. You can run faster, play more aggressively, and I tend to get more XP when I play a free kit sometimes. Looting containers and breaching containers is the most consistent way to generate high XP in a round. Take a free loadout into a high tier loot area or places that just have tons of containers. Each time you open a container, you get 200 XP, even if it's already been looted when you get there. And if you really want to min-max your XP experience and not your looting experience, you can start the opening of a drawer and then just leave before it finishes searching for the items and loot the next one. You can generate so much XP this way so consistently. Now, breaching arc probes and larger arc robots will give you 500 XP. Looting a dead player is also worth 500 XP, even if you didn't kill them. And if you're playing with teammates, make sure that everybody loots the same raider, even if they don't have items on them, because you all get 500 XP for it. The longer you stay in a round, the more XP you get, and a safe extract will also give you XP that is proportional to the time that you spent in a level. This can be pretty substantial, or you can get like upwards of 8K by the end of a game just for staying alive and extracting. Let's talk about your settings menu. I spent way too much time in this game using a bad crosshair for trying to shoot things. Luckily, you can change the crosshair in the settings. The circle is actually quite nice and much easier to track in combat. Now, depending on your sound setup, you might prefer the night mode for sound settings, which will boost the sounds of certain audio and lower it for other audio. I think I can actually hear footstep audio a little bit more clearly with night mode engaged, but you know, try it out for yourself and see what you think. Now, when it comes to character cosmetics, obviously you could wear something that blends into the environment to try and conceal yourself better, but also, did you know if you're wearing a face mask cosmetic, your character will have a different breathing sound when you are exhausted. I find this breathing sound to actually be really hard to hear the environment over, and so I started using cosmetics without a face mask so that my breathing wouldn't be so loud. Now, when it comes to graphics settings, luckily Arc Raiders is incredibly well optimized, but it can always be taken further, and I would like to thank NVIDIA for sponsoring this segment of the video, because Arc Raiders works incredibly well on NVIDIA graphics cards and can be pushed even further with their DLSS 4 tech and a 50 series graphics card. Not only does their DLSS upscaling just look better than any of the other competing upscalers, but turning on DLSS 4 multi-frame generation can push the frame rate to absolutely silly levels. You can find it in the settings here, and check out this before and after frame rate when going from no frame gen at 4K to frame gen on. An absolutely ludicrous difference that you can use to max out the frame rate and refresh rate of higher end displays. Also, enabling NVIDIA Reflex helps reduce the latency, keeping the game nice and snappy. You can also enable ray traced global illumination for incredibly accurate lighting and shadows. If you want to learn more about NVIDIA's incredible RTX tech, check out the link in the video description. All right, let's move on to some basic gameplay tips. Holstering your weapon is incredibly useful for moving around these massive maps. Hitting H on the keyboard will put your weapon away and you will move faster. This is super important, especially when your stamina is low early game and you need to cross large distances. Just remember to keep your weapon out when entering buildings or getting close to dangerous locations. When jumping from a medium height that will cause your player damage, make sure you tap dodge before you hit the ground and your player will do a roll, mitigating the damage that you receive. But also, when trying to jump onto a ledge or drop off a building and grab a ledge on the way down, holding jump will have you ledge grab. You don't actually have to time the ledge grab. Now, I'm going to go deeper with the skill tree later, but early game Marathon Runner and Youthful Lungs are some of the easiest skills to recommend. They let you run more, so if you're not sure what to specialize in first, just dump skills into these until you decide more on your build strategy. Now, I think every player is going to come into this game not understanding understanding how shields work exactly. They are not traditional shields in that they don't just absorb a bunch of hit points. They reduce damage that is taken to your health until they run out of a charge. A light shield prevents 40% of incoming damage, but for only 40 points of damage until it's out of that charge. This means that if you are low health in a gunfight, you will want to heal up first and then apply your shield. If you apply the shield first, you can still die in one more shot if you have low health. A good rule of thumb here is that if you're under half health, heal first, and if you're over half health, then do shields first. Something I really like about Arc Raiders is that common weapons are very good. A kettle can be used to kill both Arc and enemy players very effectively. It's one of my favorite guns and can be upgraded very cheaply with an extended mag, and you can craft light mags early for just a few resources, and they will turn Stitchers and kettles into much better weapons that can drop other raiders without needing to reload. One of my favorite early game economy loadouts is just a level 1 Stitcher with an extended mag and a level 1 Pharaoh. You can get a massive amount of work done with this combination, and if you take down a raider, it's easy to drop one of your level 1 guns for something better. The obvious, not so obvious item advice is read all the item descriptions, as a lot of them can be used in game for special effects. They aren't just for crafting alone. Arc power cells can be used to recharge your shields a small amount, and fabric on its own can still heal you. This is a good way to top off your health if you don't want to use some of your better healing items. If you're a loot goblin like me, you'll often max out your inventory space in a round. You can recycle items during a raid to break them down into their basic materials so that you can stack them and carry even more. However, if you recycle an item in round versus out of round, it will produce less resources. It's always better to recycle out of a round when possible, but if you're just trying to min-max a run, then sometimes it makes sense. Now, early game, you're going to be using green augments. There's 3 of them, and in my opinion, the Looter Mark 1 is the augment of choice. It gives you more carry capacity and a safe pocket. You can use your safe pocket every single match, even before you queue up. Store high-value health items in here, split your shield stack and put half of them in your safe pocket, or even extra stacks of ammo in here in case you get surprise ganked. You won't lose everything. And once you start to make more progress, you can start putting even higher level items in here, like a Raider Hatch Key or high-level Wolfpack grenades. Now, if you extract while running a free loadout, you can then go to the Clinic Trader in Esperanza to trade your free augment for any of the 3 augments, which is a great way to transition from a free loadout into an economy build. Now, learning to avoid arc robots properly is a needed skill to stay alive longer. Even if they see you and you kill them in a fight, you're going to be alerting nearby enemy raiders who now know your location and can ambush you. Sprinting will increase the radius in which arc will spot you, walking reduces this, and crouching reduces it even further. But if an arc isn't looking at you, sprinting will likely cause it to aggro anyway if you are close enough. Walking, or rather jogging, is a good middle ground when you're close, but they aren't facing you. Now, that said, you're obviously going to be fighting arc robots a lot, whether you intend to or not, and it makes sense to learn how to kill each of them effectively. Heavy ammo can break through arc armor faster and it gives you more options, but it can also be much better to go for the weak spots on most arc. Wasps are pretty lightly armored, so you can usually just hit them center mass, but you can take off their engines if you want to. Hornets, on the other hand, will give you a bit more of a fight. They have armored bodies and front engines. You'll want to try and shoot out their rear engines when you can, or break the armor out on one of their front engines to then kill it. You can disrupt their targeting sequence by hitting them hard enough with a weapon or eliminating an engine to avoid taking damage. This is very useful if you get caught out in the open. Pulling them in toward a building can also cause them to crash, especially when they are down on an engine and flying more erratically. If a Hornet is targeting you, dodge roll as they fire to avoid getting hit. Wasps can be a bit trickier to dodge, so you really want to get some cover when fighting them. When you go inside buildings, you're likely to run into ticks, pops, and fireballs. Listen for ticks. They make a very recognizable sound when you are close to them. Ticks can be killed with anything, but melee is very viable if you're trying to make the least amount of sound, or you can just shoot them with a light weapon. Pops are easy to kill. You just shoot them with any type of ammo. You just want to get them before they get you. Fireballs can be tricky if you don't know how to handle them. They're a little bit more armored, so light ammo usually won't kill them as they approach. If you only have a light ammo weapon, you can wait for them to get close, and when they open up to shoot, you can then spam fire them down. They will explode and cause fire and damage, but if you time your back dodge dodge correctly, you can get out of there without taking any damage. Let's move on to some intermediate advice. Progressing your skill tree mid-game provides a lot of options, but there are two competing skills that, in my opinion, are must-haves for loot goblins or just frankly anyone playing the game. There's Broad Shoulders and Loaded Arms. To get either of these skills, you will need to first dump at least 15 points into either survival or conditioning, so it makes sense to focus on one branch at a time. Loaded Arms reduces the weight of any equipped weapon by half. This means both of the weapons you are carrying in your weapon slots. This includes mod weight as well. So running with a economy build of a Stitcher and a Pharaoh has a combined weight of 13 kilograms. That'll be reduced to 6.5. If you're going in with something crazier like the Torrente, which can weigh over 13 kilograms with mods, and say a Pharaoh as backup, their combined weight is over 20 kilograms, so you will save over 10 kilograms with one skill point, which makes this a pretty darn good ability. Now, on the other side of the skill tree, you've got Broad Shoulders. Each point put into this will allow you to carry 2 kilograms of additional weight, maxing out at a total of 10 kilograms for 5 total skill points. This is huge, of course. It's a little more expensive than Loaded Arms, but on average will provide more weight capacity. You really just need to decide which skills along the path you want first, conditioning or survival. I went with conditioning because I really like the faster breach times, but both are good options. Once you have either of these skills set up, it becomes much easier and viable to just pick up tons of weapons off of enemies that you kill in combat and take them out of the round, in addition to the ones that you're already carrying. Now, an endgame skill that is argued to be one of the best skills in the game is Security Breach. It requires 36 points in the survival branch to unlock, but once you get it, you can open security lockers, which are scattered around different maps, and they will provide purple guns regularly. People with this skill point seem to have stockpiles of top tier weapons, and it honestly feels a little bit broken. Now, you should learn from my mistakes and avoid the skill Calming Stroll. The description here makes it sound like you can regain stamina while walking at the same rate that you could before while standing still, which sounds pretty darn good for getting around the map quickly. However, walking in Arc Raiders is actually when you toggle the walk mode, which is the V key on PC. This is a much slower way of traveling and something that I rarely use, and honestly I'm kind of upset. I feel like this is a bit of false advertising on the skill, even though technically it is correct. There's just a lot of terminology for the different types of movement in this game. Now, upgrading your workshop stations is going to be a big part of mid to late game. You're going to need it to craft higher level items. Leveling these up requires a lot of resources. Make sure that you track these assignments so that as you're looting for resources, the ones you need will have little eyes next to them. This will help you make quick looting decisions without having to constantly refer back to a mission or a menu. Also, once you start to favor certain craftable items, for example, medium shields, you can then track the resources needed to craft those, and whenever you come across them, they will have a little eye on them, letting you know to pick them up. Make sure to use Celeste to stockpile the items you need for crafting, as they do have a cooldown once you max out how many you can take. I like to take all her batteries for medium shields as frequently as possible. Now, Celeste takes seeds for trade, and you can indefinitely trade seeds 1-for-1 for any basic crafting supply. So if you're in a game and you're dumping basic crafting materials like metal parts to free up some of your inventory space, make sure you dump the seeds last, since they can be traded for any of those craftables, and they can be stacked up to 100 for the exact same weight as 50 metal parts. Now, upgrading Scrappy is going to be a really important progression to make, as he provides you tons of resources in between rounds. He's going to need lemons, apricots, olives, a cat bed, at least 3 pillows, 12 mushrooms. You should be keeping all of that stuff as you progress in the game. Even if you don't need it immediately, you will eventually need it, especially those mushrooms, which are particularly rare to find. Let's talk about some fantastic weapons to dump upgrade resources into. I'm seeing the Pharaoh, even in late game, get a ton of use. It's extremely inexpensive to upgrade a Pharaoh to level 4, giving it a much faster reload time, and you can even put a better stock on it to give it faster ADS speed. It's great in PvP and for killing Arc. Now, the green uncommon pistol, the Anvil, has become another favorite. It is also fantastic for PvP and PvE thanks to its heavy ammo damage. I find these things all the time on fallen players, and they don't weigh much, so you can throw them in your backpack and bring them with you. They can also be purchased for 15k in the gun shop, but I wouldn't recommend that until you've at least maxed out your inventory stash. They're a little more expensive to upgrade, but not by much, and the benefit from upgrading them is an increased rate of fire, which is incredible. They have a slower muzzle velocity at range, so you do have to lead your target if you're trying to snipe with them, but in close to medium range, they are absolutely lethal. Let's talk about extracting, leaving a match without dying. This is an art form in itself. Here's some tips to make it out more consistently. Smoking an extraction point is an obvious but useful tip that can help you stay alive a bit longer if somebody's trying to snipe you off of an extraction console. It's particularly useful in solos. You can either bring one of those Lil smoke grenades, which are super cheap to craft, or just find one in round. Now, if you're playing solos and you hear somebody trying to extract, it usually means they've got good gear, they want to keep it, and they want to get out. Getting into a firefight at an extraction point is a good way to get third-partied. It happens all the time. Most players seem to understand this, and so if you find somebody extracting and you want to extract yourself, usually they'll be friendly to it. I find it more often than not, they're willing to just share the ride down and sort of protect the extract. Just make sure you let them know on comms that you're friendly. Now, if you're playing in a party, you can have two people start extracting at different consoles. If one person gets sniped or goes down, the other person can still complete the extract, and the down player will still get out with all their loot. This is a nice bit of insurance if you're fully committing to the extract versus getting stuck in a firefight. Likewise, if a player goes down during the extract, you can still call the elevator even if you're downed, which can be very useful if the other two members of your party are fighting off incoming raiders. Now, if you ever stick around to the end of a round when the timer ticks all the way down, a giant impact will hit the map and it will kill everybody immediately. However, if you are at an extract point and you call the extract before the timer runs out, you will not die when the impact hits. This is super important, so don't give up even if you only have 10 seconds left. If you can get to that lift button, you will be safe. Now, once you start to get a little more comfortable in Arc Raiders and you want to take on some of the bigger bad guys in the game, well, there's entire guides on how to fight each one of them, but some general tips here are to stockpile grenades, and when you're ready to take down bigger robots, bring them in. You can fill your safe pockets with them or whatever. The larger Arc robots have resources needed for upgrading crafting tables and making endgame gear. If you have a Wolfpack grenade, these can just about one-shot a lot of the larger Arcs in the game. You just have to make sure that all the seekers from this grenade hit your intended target. So get rid of the ads and then use the grenade to kill the big Arc. A Wolfpack, at least in my experience, has one-shotted a Rocketeer, which is one of the more challenging larger Arcs to kill because of how maneuverable and damaging it is. Once you and or your party become proficient at killing these larger Arc robots, the looting and XP is massive. I almost look at a Wolfpack grenade as like a free XP grenade, and I'll put one in a safe pocket just in case a good opportunity arises. I find Hornet drivers to be invaluable when fighting the larger Arc. They can stun them and will give you valuable time to get around to the weak spots or just fight them without getting shot at. And if you jump into a round and need one, well, you can usually locate a Hornet, kill it, and take the Hornet driver off of it. You can stockpile 3 before you even make it to the bigger Arc that you're intending to fight. Once you're running with an experienced 3-man group, the XP you can generate from fighting multiple large Arc on a map can be absolutely insane, and you can rank up very quickly once you got things moving. Now, going into a late game situation doesn't mean that you have to use all your medium and heavy shields and go in with a super expensive loadout. One of my favorite loadouts is a Mark II looter setup with light shields. Light shields won't impact your movement at all, and they weigh less, so you can carry more stuff. The additional safety pockets of this augment also means that I'm usually willing to bring in more situational gadgets like mines and wolf packs and other things that can help me take advantage of opportunities that arise. It's a nice low cost but high profit potential loadout. Now, if you're just getting into Arc Raiders, I think following this guide here will help you out a lot. If you are a highly experienced Arc Raider and you've got some additional tips that you you want to let me know about, let me know in the comments, please. I'm very eager to learn more about this game and sort of min-max my potential and opportunities. I'm having an absolute blast with it. I want to thank NVIDIA again for sponsoring this video. And again, if you want to check out their GPUs and RTX stuff, look at the link in the video description. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.